And Alessandro even used one of the greatest artists of the Renaissance, Benvenuto Cellini, to create a coin stamped with his imperial image. It's a secret treasure of the Renaissance with a dark message. Now to us, it might seem like nothing much, just a coin, but to a 16th century Florentine with Republican sympathies, this would have been an object of disgust. It would have been an outrage, because it broke with a centuries-long tradition in Florence that the coinage should never have the portrait of an individual on it. To have a Medici on the coinage was an incredibly strong symbol. It's said that the Medici now are, in Florence, the equivalent of kings. The money men, the men who came from money and who used their money to achieve power and status, are now on the money of Florence itself. In 1532, Alessandro became the first ever Duke of Florence. The Republic was dead. And the Medici used Florence's main square to declare their new status as nobility. They even had the nerve to take over the city's town hall, the Palazzo Signoria, transforming it into a princely palace. What's amazing about this place is that not only did the Medici come to live in the Palazzo Signoria, the heart of Republican Florence as it had been, but they covered its walls with celebrations of the Medici dynasty. But what you get here is a wonderful contrast of past and present, because nowadays these are offices. Once again, Italy is a democracy, and they still run Florence from this building. This is the office of the mayor, where they deal with the parking tickets, where they discuss the congestion charge, where they deal with all the day-to-day business of the city. But they do it still under the eyes of the Medici tyrants that once were. These frescoes, painted by Giorgio Vasari and his army of assistants, show the Medici not as a family of merchants, but as an aristocratic dynasty. At last, they'd well and truly made it. But they were to give one final twist to the story of art. The solitary and anemic Francesco de' Medici, ruler of Florence in the 1570s, was certainly no warrior. He spent his life amassing strange and exotic objects to show his mastery of art and nature. He even created a miniature museum for his eyes only, the Studiolo. Each side of the room is governed by one of the four elements: earth, air, fire, and water. Under each element are a series of fantastical paintings. So on the wall of water are images of the sea. These paintings, at this level, they're also cupboards. Now, because this is the wall of water, it's thought that Francesco de' Medici would have kept objects from his collection associated with water. For example, there might have been a statue of Venus born from water, but there would also have been objects from nature, pieces of precious coral, wonderful shells, perhaps from the Indies. These things were regarded by Renaissance princes as exceptionally precious. The whole space was really a kind of microcosm of Francesco, of the prince's knowledge of all things. But I don't want to make the project sound too rational, because there's some pretty weird stuff going on in here too. For example, here you've got a weird hallucinogenic dream scene full of half-naked women, and it's thought that Francesco de' Medici was addicted to opium like many a Renaissance prince, and maybe he actually kept his stash behind this painting. Now I think what we've got here is a new sense of art, of the experience of art, of the work of art, as a kind of narcotic. Art has become totally untethered from any notion of shared value. It's untethered from notions of religion, it's untethered from notions of politics. It's really an experience in and of and for itself. And the thing about this space is that no matter how many art historians have studied it, no one has managed to fully decode its secrets. Art has become a kind of private obsession. And I think it's fascinating that there's just one image of Francesco de' Medici on these walls. And what he is, he's the alchemist. And I think that's what this space actually represents. The Medici, through their relationship with art, have alchemically transformed it. They've turned it into something else. It's no longer what it was when Ghiberti created those doors for Giovanni di Bicci. It's no longer a work of religious significance. It can be anything. Anything at all. Art has been liberated. Florence had been the laboratory for a great experiment, where art became more precious than gold. The Medici's power and desires were the catalyst for new forms of artistic expression, and they made capitalism respectable. Greed is good, they said, but greed for art is best of all. And that's why people pay fortunes for it today. The Medici turned Florence into their own personal work of art, but their story's far bigger than the tale of one city, because what they did reaches into the modern world. They transformed art and changed the course of civilization. And the biggest irony of all is that they did it all to get away from their own dirty roots in money. But what they did was create the biggest, baddest, hardest currency of all, the currency of art.